Hi everyone, today is Thursday, June the 5th, and this is the Moneyball Morning Report for the Benzinga Pro platform. We're taking a look at the ES. I know, don't get freaked out by all the lines. We measure the opening range of the prior day. We like to put that in there, and certainly what we're seeing is that traders this morning are really trying to stay up over the high of the opening range formation of the prior day, and we have a few things going on with trend. So let's first have a look. What does the zigzag pattern tell us? Zigzag, when you see a zigzag pattern like this, you know that there's a long motion to the upside, and we've got some kind of reversion action here. So the first thing that we notice is things are a bit messy. It's very sideways in a larger range formation. And we are currently holding the low of this morning's opening range at 5,971. What is the slope of the moving average? It's up. What is momentum? Positive to flat. And so this tells us we could have another rangy day, much like yesterday. Now, I had a good trading day yesterday because I used the 1 hour chart and I said, I'm going to buy the floor and I'm going to sell the ceiling. When I tell you work on the edges when a market looks like this, that's what I mean. I mean, use an hourly formation so that you can see where the traders are squeezing themselves in. Now, the very last trade of the day, which should have been a short at 59.98, I did not take it because the VWAP was inclining at that space, and then we got into 3 o'clock, and I don't really like trading the last hour of the day because my brain gets to be like Jello. So that being said, sorry, I'm so sorry. That being said, what we're looking at is a dip buying formation that's holding up somewhere around 59.80. If it comes into 59.80, 59.83, 59.84, that's where we are right now, we can see that there's some buying pressure under flat averages. Do I love this? No, it's still in the middle of the range. So ultimately, I like the low of the range day before yesterday's VWAP formation at 59.67. I like that as the floor. If it breaks, watch the edge of the trend line here that I've got in a channel. What are the expected moves to the upside? The measured move off of the implied volatility chain is 6,003 to the upside and 5,947 to the downside. So remember, what this measures is where the traders have positioned short with calls on the top and short puts on the bottom. That's what that's really showing us. Dips certainly be buy zones. We've got the jobs number coming. If the jobs number is very bad, we might see a sharp move down tomorrow and then a big move up. Why? Because it's going to put pressure on the Fed to cut rates, and they have a meeting, I think it's next week, June 13th or something. We also have the full moon coming around near that time. The storyboard is 75% of the time or so, we buy the full moon, sell the new moon. So if we happen to see a really nice dip next week, it's going to present a buying zone opportunity for us. Compression is very tight. It's tight over a couple of days. It's tight over a couple of weeks. And so there is a big move coming in the market. Could it be new highs? Very likely so. Here's why I believe shorts are listening to the biggest macro voices out there who are really banging the drum on disaster on the horizon. So they're shorting the market, and price action continues to move up, meaning that they have to leave the market and then turn around and chase. That's the noise that we're sitting in. Let's take a look at the NQ. The NQ chart shows a fairly tight opening range, much the size of yesterday's opening range, and The high of yesterday's opening range is now the low of the pre-market. To me, that's the line in the sand to watch. Yesterday's highest volume candlestick was bullish, and we are sitting right at the top of that candlestick trying to hold. Momentum not really giving us a nice clear sign of bullish pressure, and we've got an RSI that's flat. What does that tell us? Irrespective of trend, which is sideways from the zigzag and upward from the 63 moving average, it gives us a cross current. So big spikes, selling opportunities, big spikes down, buying opportunities. What's the expected move here? Well, the expected move to the upside is 21,877. The expected move to the downside, did I subtract that properly? Let's see. Open 744. Let me double check that. We can find these implied volatility moves from an option chain, any option chain, on a platform that tells you what that is. So we've got, okay, I knew that I had that wrong. It's 614. Okay, I'm gonna put it with this one here, so it looks like 617. So 21,617 is the expected move on the low side. 21,877 expected move on the high side. Let's take a look at the YM. The traders that sold the Iron Condor or sold the Naked Strangle here 60 days ago have done nothing but rake in cash. It's truly beautiful. I don't know that we can do that in the diamonds, but certainly we can do futures options to do the Iron Condor in the YM. It's been working very, very well. You can see that the zigzag is moving back and forth. Currently, it's up, but what are we seeing, right? Moving average up, and we're coming into test. High of the opening range. Looks to me like a dip buying formation. Low end of the buying edge is 42,455. That's my thought. So could we see a nice bounce here at the base of this opening range? Entirely. Here's the process though. If you want to buy it right here, just as it tests this zone at 42,480. Your stop needs to be just under 42,440, 40 points. That's a good risk to reward in my mind. Where are the upside pressure events? My suspicion is that we get ourselves, son of a gun, we get ourselves to 42,655, 42,655 or so if the price action runs. And on the short side, looking at the breakout areas near 42,375 to 42,336 on that low side. So that's what we're looking at. Trends are still by the dip. And you can see that zigzag pattern moving around a lot. What I wanted to do was put the overlay of the channel that gives us something static that we can watch as the zigzag pattern potentially shifts around at levels that are very, very important. And this is an important level. If it loses 42,486, it's likely to have movement that is downward into deeper support. And we know where that area is. We can see that I've drawn the Fibonacci that gives us swing high to swing low. Let's take a look at micro Bitcoin. Bouncing pretty savagely this morning. My suspicion with this one is that it is in a downward formation, right? If I choose the pattern to take a look at, we've got this trend line to the north that's been broken, right? And now we have something that is mirroring the zigzag pattern. What is trend? Down to flat for the moving average, down for the zigzag. So Let's draw something static. Well, that's not a good line. Let's go here. Yeah, that's much better. If we draw something static, we can see that the trend remains down and price action is bouncing to the top of that range. So what are we staring at? Flat to slightly bullish momentum. The RSI is also upward, so we've got this upward push into resistance. That area to me, let's stay, whoopsie. Let me lock this for now. Properties, lock. Okay, so now I want to see where we go relative to motion of, oh, it's still in the channel. Okay, relative to motion of the opening candlestick formation of yesterday. Sorry, that's still the wrong one. I hate it when I do this. Okay, so we're looking at 106,520 on the upside if it goes into yesterday's Globex candlestick formation. All right, so what are we looking at? RSI moving up, we've got positive motion, VWAP moving down, moving average flat, zigzag and trendline patterns going down. What does that tell you? Noise. It's giving us noise. Yesterday's high volume candlestick, the high of that high volume candlestick is 105,500. Above that area, because it's bullish, buyers are very likely to push into the implied volatility move on the high side, round at about 106,100, all the way to 106,520. Low expected move, 104,598. Messy, but the spikes are definitely giving us shorting action if you just want to choose one direction. Let's go to oil. Oil was very sharply up and then fell off a cliff. And now the zigzag is back to pointing upward. Yesterday afternoon at the close of the day, if you were watching this zigzag, it was very sharply down. Once we started bouncing, remember, these areas, they look for a retest and hold of the areas, and then the zigzag flips. What are we looking at in oil? Opening range is, well, oh, I know why, because I've locked that. The opening range is about 20 cents wide. Notice, trying to hold the bottom. This gigantic box here is the highest volume candlestick of yesterday. What I like to do is anchor a VWAP right here to see where we are relative to motion versus the overall VWAP and volume. It still looks like a potential buy the dip, but we've got three highs that faded into the base of the range, and now we're sitting in the middle of the range. My suspicion is that the buy zones are going to be best for us at the bottom of the range, or the sell zones at the top of the range. What are the expected moves? $63.68 at the top, $62.18 at the bottom. This is very noisy. Momentum is up, but the trend is flat. And so that's going to give us candlesticks that retrace each other. We've got to be very, very careful about that. Still buy the dip formation as far as I'm concerned. I see a fair bit of upside action here. And if it continues to run, I think it's going to start weighing on stocks. Let's go to gold. Gold has been shooting the moon. As we take a look at gold right now, the highest volume candlestick of yesterday, we are well above it. We want to take a look at maybe if we lose that ledge, we've got a pullback of some kind, but we expect the buyers to step in at $3,409. So $3,409 initial support. What is the slope of the VWAP? Up. What is the slope of the moving average? Up to flat. What is momentum? Up, but waning. And the RSI is in bullish territory. So what does that mean? Dips or buy zones. How big could the dip be? Pretty big, right? Yesterday's formation of this trend line event in this channel is now broken. And so here's the channel we watched today. Let's see if it can give us something legitimate. Nope. Yeah. So that's the potential trend line we're following. Also upward in this channel base, for me, I want to see old resistance become new support on a retest. And so I would like to see long action from 3,400. The dollar has been fading. Gold is repricing. Takes more dollars to buy gold if the dollar falls. And so we've been seeing the dollar falling a fair bit, but it is sitting somewhere near a relative support. That being said, the measured move to the upside, 3,417, we just tested it and now are trying to battle over it. It looks like more upside to me. It really does. And that could move all the way into the higher zones at 3,437. The low expected value is $3,378. I'm not sure we see that today. Overall, we are breaking out under solid momentum and trend. And so that tells us that the buy could easily be sitting here at the top of this range, because if they've sold calls at 34.17, they will have to buy the instrument to shift their delta more positive. So I think this is definitely a zone to watch. Would I trade it? I would wait, but that's just me, right? There are a lot of trades that go by me, and I'm okay with that because I know that the buffet is open all the time. All right, let's go to SPY. Opening range of SPY, very similar to yesterday's opening range. Very bullish day yesterday. Very, very bullish. We have a little bit of technical divergence when it comes to momentum, holding price, but not increasing momentum, not holding momentum to the upside. What is trend? Well, zigzag says it's up. Moving average says it's up. Momentum, as I mentioned, is flat, but somewhat up. So what does that tell us? Dips or buy zones. So what are we looking for, right? A couple of things. Yesterday's high volume area is nowhere the size of the day before's. It's, 15, 20% bigger. So my suspicion that we fall back into the base of this candlestick tells me that long action is sitting at around 595.45. If the traders get caught off sides and this bearish candlestick gives them the opportunity to fade some more, we are going to go down into the low of the expected move today. That's 594.37 or so. Please remember, these are ranges, not exact numbers. We can't have exact numbers. If you get in at an absolute high, thank the market gods that you were lucky. But that's got nothing to do with the skill of reading the markets. These are zones. All right, so there we have it. Upside pressure event in the SPY, the expected move, a little bit over 600, almost the same as yesterday, folks. These expected moves did not shift from one day to the next. I find that to be very interesting. Where would I look for trades? I'd look for shorts at the highs that fail. Currently, that's the top of the opening range, $597.50 or so. Where would I look for longs? At the base of the heavy congestion, that's around 595. Lastly, let's take a look at the Qs. This is the ETF, of course, covering the NASDAQ. What What? Sally didn't do this. What is wrong with her? 2 secs. All right, so our opening range is here. These are measured. Look at that. We tested the top of the opening range at 530. This looks very different to the SPY. Clean, solid line to the upside over the last 3 trading days, right? However, we've got a little bit of a topping formation. The RSI is now sloping downward. Momentum, flat but bullish. So this is still a buy the dip. Yesterday's highest volume candlestick was right at 10 o'clock, and we are trying to recover over the top of that. The day before that, we had a selling candlestick really right where the price action began to hold in the overnight here. So I find that to be very interesting. So what are we staring down? Right? Pullbacks or buy zones. Slope of the moving average up, but far away. We could have a mean reversion here. Very choppy. What would I like? Deep dips, buy zones. Big spikes, sell zones. I do not want to trade here because trend is sloppy. A lot of candlesticks retracing each other. High of the opening range, 530. We could bounce into that. As long as we bounce and fail, we've got ourselves a really nice trade that can give us downside pressure. Otherwise, if it holds above it, we watch it move for $3 to the north or so. If it fails below this opening range of 529, we've got ourselves short action that takes us to 525. I, of course, will not be participating in the trade that takes me short to support. I'm looking for the long here in the direction of trend. All right, so that's it, folks. I'll see you on the streams.